Buenos dias, gente. As you can see, something new today, something exclusive. We got something for you. This is the very first episode of a Convicts Collective podcast. Joining me is Mr. Rojo, the Convicts Perspective, as well as Big Flaco, the Convicts Perspective. How you guys doing, gentlemen?
Doing good, my man.
Doing good, brother.
Okay. And we have some exclusive news. We know a lot's going on in the YouTube world right now. Everything is buzzing out here with all these fights and promotions and things of that nature that we're totally behind the scenes. But Flaco has some exclusive information that he's brought to the plate today, so I'm gonna let Flaco take it from here.
Man, just as you guys know, man, there was just a long trial regarding Maurice Vasquez, Badass Snoop, founder of the Northern Riders. He was just found guilty in trial, and apparently he's going to be receiving a life sentence. You guys are all aware of this, right? This just occurred yesterday. I guess there was a long-standing trial. He actually had it. I guess one of the key witnesses against him was an individual named Stranger de Modesto. I guess there was 3 days testimonies. I guess they used kites. Apparently some other type of communications, and I guess there's some discrepancies to the case in that they're saying that he basically got railroaded just based upon who he is. You know, his reputation being a Northern Rider. I heard that there was no established proof of any of these communications that they actually came from him. All hearsay testimony, all hearsay evidence. But apparently they still found him guilty, man. I know Rojo got a little bit more information about this as well, but apparently it looks like he's going to be getting a life sentence. I was told, I think he was offered in trial, I believe it was 33 years or 30 years. And I guess in his mindset that he didn't feel like they had a case, you know what I mean? And he was thinking, if you're offering me 30 years, maybe he can get it down to less, of course. You know what I mean? That'd be my first thinking. When D is talking 30 years, you're thinking maybe you can get it down lower. But apparently he went to trial, and apparently he lost. And the rumor circulating is that now that he took it to trial, he's going to receive a life sentence.
Yeah, man. Somebody reached out to me today on Instagram. That's one of his compas. That's what they call each other, right? Compas. Am I using the right word?
I have no idea.
I think that's the word that they call each other. He reached out to me and told me what had happened, and I asked him to double check to make sure, you know, he double checked, verified it. I seen some messages that were exchanged amongst their group, you know, as somewhat, you know, a way to show me that that's what really happened and whatnot. But like Flaco said, whether they had a strong case, whether they had a weak case, we don't know. We weren't there. We don't know the evidence or nothing like that. But like Flaco was saying, man, based on who you are as being a person who started, you know, some kind of gang, you know, whatever people might look at that group as is irrelevant. The government's going to look at it just like any other gang. You know what I mean? So with that in mind, everybody knows he's the founder. It's common knowledge, you know, he's not shy about saying it. He has thousands of followers. You know what I mean? There's thousands of them dudes. And they're out there doing their thing in the community, and they're going to have their problems like anybody else. They're going to have their informants, you know what I mean? They're going to have people that flip and testify. They're going to have that. But at the end of the day, his status being who he is definitely hurt him. There's no doubt about it. You know, that's going to be one of their main things. They're going to have all kinds of intercepted communication saying, oh, we have to ask Snoop. We make sure Snoop says it's cool. All them little things right there, letters, you know, they're on any phone call. You know what I mean? You know, you get a person that's known as the head of any certain group, they're going to bring their A game, bro. I know they used their best prosecutor. You know, they had plenty of people telling whether they took the stand or not. There's all kinds of stuff you guys know how it goes down. We've all been involved in stuff like that in some form or fashion, whether it be in our own case or as a case for, you know, the groups that, you know, we associated ourselves with. They taking the 33, man, in my opinion, he should have known it was over. I don't know the evidence that they presented him in the, what do they call that, discovery or whatnot. But he's one of them dudes that you're going to have to look similar. So like when the FBI comes after you on the RICO, it's over. You know what I mean? That's just my opinion.
Look at the county, though, he was in, though, too, as well, though. I mean, that county is known for railroading people. And I doubt that he got, I believe he wasn't, isn't he a New Delano, if I'm not mistaken?
Where?
Kern Valley.
I don't know if that's,
Kern County.
I don't know. We know he was in Lancaster for a while as well, right? So
I
don't
heard he
know
went
where
to LA. I heard he went to LA.
I heard he was
That's
in
what I had
LA
heard.
County. I heard
LA?
also he was in LA County.
Okay.
Look at this. 2 points. I got 2 points, gentlemen. First, this is the Kingpin Act. They basically hit him with the Kingpin Act, which is when you're a head of an organization, similar to a RICO, they go after you as some type of kingpin. And they're not putting tapatio on it. That's just how they look at it. They're trying to cut the head off the snake. Second, two, funny thing you mentioned Stranger from Modesto because I just did a spill about X-Rated. He was the individual that was the main culprit involved with the X-Rated stabbing, right? And X-Rated actually did a song called Telephone Games. If you haven't heard it, go listen to it, where he mentions Stranger from Modesto several times, his whole case factors and what went down with them. So this guy seems like, this Stranger from Modesto seems like he's been wiggling for a while, man, telling on a lot of people and just in the mix. So, I mean, hey, when you got those type of characters around you, man, what do you expect to happen? It was only a matter of time. Maurice, and I know Maurice personally, and I'll tell you this, Maurice Vasquez, Snoop, is not a dumb individual, right? But he's very boisterous and flamboyant, man. And when you're like that, man, it's all your time, your clock is ticking. It was only a matter of time. And that's it. You know, the time's over. So it is what it is.
Agreed, 100%.
So what do you think happens from here now? Yeah, I mean, do you think that like you're going to start having more cases of gang injunctions and RICO acts against Northern Riders? Because I was told by a reliable source, man, that we all know, man, that they've already established themselves in Colorado. And the ones that have established that in Colorado were actually some high-ranking Nuestra Raza members from the 80s and 90s that fell off. And then now they're calling themselves riders, but they already have a presence in Colorado. So if they're branching out into all these different areas, do you see more RICO acts? Do you see potentially them hitting the feds now? I mean, these are things that you have to take into consideration because they're out there in the streets now.
Undoubtedly, bro. I mean, they're going to be looked at just like Northerners, Southerners, Crips, Bloods, Latin Kings. It doesn't matter. They don't care where their origins are. They don't care about none of that. If they're out there doing traditional things like, you know, all these groups have been doing for decades, if not, you know, a century or so on some of them, the government's gonna approach them the same way. They're gonna hit them with the same statutes if they violate certain, you know, things in these areas. The feds are, yeah, bro. I mean, they're gonna be treated as if they were a traditional organization.
So, like a case like this would take precedent. You get what I'm saying? Like, it would start to influence other cases in the futures. They've already found a conviction towards Snoop, and they use gang ties in this. I heard they use communications. I heard they use kites. They used all the same stuff that they used when they used to indict the NF or MA and all that. They used it in this current case. Codes as well, all kinds of situations. I've seen other cases that they have out there. So do you think now, are you going to start, like you said, I think there are going to be a whole lot more RICO cases now.
Undoubtedly.
I mean, I think they're going to be attacked, especially in these SNY yards. They're going to find ways to get them for extortion, you know what I'm saying? Drug trafficking, any type of communication, man. So what's the end message here? Whether you're active or inactive, if you get involved in the gang, you're going to have the same results.
Yeah,
No doubt.
you're absolutely right. What it all comes down to is they're going to use this as a foundation. This is now a foundation showing that these SNY gangs, they're becoming so predominant and so deep in layman's terms that, I mean, they went after the gusto. They went for, okay, we all know about the 2-5ers from way back then and the new flowers, and everyone knows, anyone that knows, active or inactive. You can't sit back and act like you haven't heard about these things. But these Northern Riders blew up. They took off, man, in the 2000s or whatever the case may be. And Snoop's always been the figurehead, the central figure of them. Everyone's known that. It's well documented. You could Google it. There he is, picture of him looking like a Backstreet Boy. Okay, so at the same time, they went straight for the gusto. The feds did. They didn't hesitate. They waited and bided their time for him to do any overt act or anything that they thought would stretch him, and they stretched him. So what this shows anyone else that believes in joining these gangs or starting these things, if they took Snoop off the map, it's not even, you might as well just figure that you're going to be doing all day. You can just chalk that up. and I've also heard from a reliable source of mine that that they're now considering this Northern Rider group, riders, whatever the fuck they call themselves, as one of the big four, like maybe the five. You know what I mean? They're already a STG group. They're already a security threat group. They're now becoming they were a disruptor group. They're now becoming a security threat group, where they're actually getting that recognition of being one of the big ones.
I can count. This is what tripped me out. I can count three people I know who were deeply involved with the regiment every time they got out. They even got indicted in San Jose indictments. Hardcore with the business, knew all the regimental activities, followed the laws to the fullest. They're now Northern Riders. They're now Northern Riders. You know what I'm saying? So they're not only getting people who are just first termers or just tired of the politics, they're getting those that were in politics that got tired of being scorned or done wrong or the betrayal, who are gravitating towards their movement, man, and are taking those same type of educational attainments that they had when they were fully functioning, assisting the NF, whether they were a member, associate, or whatnot, and they're recruiting these people, and they're starting to put these same type of principles and regimental activities into the Northern Riders, believe it or not. You know, I mean, there's a wiretap I seen on another case where it shows the Northern Riders discussing how they're going to start selling dope and how they're going to start making moves and how they're going to start doing this, man. So they're not just a prison-based group that just operates in prison. They're trying to migrate out there on the streets.
Oh yeah, they're becoming a bigger movement than was initially thought they would be. You know, and to piggyback off that, Flacco, just like you said, a lot of well-established individuals, man. I know a lot of homeboys too that I did time with, or that were functioning within the same regiment as me, that are now Northern Riders, right? And it trips me out because these guys were totally with the business. They totally were fully functioning, dedicated to the cause and souls. But at the same time, man, they take that mentality. You know, everything taught to them, the principles, the foundations, the phases, everything that was indoctrinated and established within, the Nuestra Raza over there. So like I said, man, you can take the man out of the hood, but you can't take the hood out of the man. They're still treacherous. You still have to watch your back with these individuals. I agree.
There's a rumor, right, that I've heard. I talked to an individual, and I'm not going to put the individual's name, but there's a rumor there's an ex-ANF member who's now a Northern Rider, one that I personally knew pretty well. I haven't been able to corroborate that, but this came from a pretty reliable source. I'm waiting to get confirmation, but can you imagine that? If they start to recruit ex-NF members who felt that they were done wrong or they were betrayed, who decided to walk away from the life, or they got deemed no good. I mean, because they do have their different procedures in how they recruit, you know what I mean? And individual that I heard that recently got recruited into the NR, I mean, he did get deemed no good as far as laying it down or locking it up. He got whacked. He got hit. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just wondering where this group is going to take off on and what to expect more. I see potentially another internal conflict, which I've been hearing has been occurring. You know
it's already well documented that there's a splinter group that splintered off of the Northern Riders that call themselves the Nuestra Casa or some Casa. I don't know what the hell they are. Some babosos, but at the same time, also this is why the initial case on Snoop was implemented, was because word on the curb was he got into it, one of his right-hand men, Scrappy. And in the crux of things, Scrappy was basically whacked. They're whacking people just like everyone else. It's a trip, man. Round and round it goes, and it's just a new day, new age, and a new gang. You know.
I seen the documents on that, man. They were calling him the Pope.
Yeah, he was basically, yeah. He was right hand man.
Yeah, they were calling Snoop the Pope and all kinds of words. Like, I mean, it was weird because it was words like it would how you say superior, like that they look at him as superior. You know what I mean? I know Snoop personally. You know Snoop personally. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's a lot more intelligent than people think. Actually, he's highly intelligent. He plays a lot of games. You never know what he's saying, if it's true or not, but he's definitely with the business, and everything he does, he has a calculated plan, man. I will give him that, man. He knows what he's doing, man. Can't say nothing bad about him. He's always been with the business. And even when he does what he does, that's part of his strategy. And that's why he had such a strong following, man. I mean, when I met him years ago when he was active, I could see how much influence he had on just the young North Daniels that were on the yard when he came from YA. he had a huge influence on all the youngsters, man, and they all looked up to him already, man. So did I ever think this was going to occur? No. Does it surprise me now that I look back in reflection of how Snoop carried himself when he came to prison? No, it doesn't surprise me. He had a lot of dudes that would sit there and follow him.
Yeah.
And ride his coattails. And they were all hitters and riders too, you know what I mean? But they were on his coattails, man. He had that type of influence.
Yeah, he's able to manipulate the masses. That's, and not everyone can do that. There's a lot of guys that want to do that. There's a lot of guys that seek to do that, but there's only the very few handful of individuals that have ever been able to do it. And like a lot of people say, well, he's a degenerate. He's this, he's that. He spreads poison. I mean, even when Snoop was active, he's always been the same way. You know that, Flock. He's never sugar-coated, fake the funk. He is what he is, and he's seen that he can get a legion behind him, and he went ahead and did that, and now it's wildfire. It's spread. I myself used to sit back, see it for what it was, and just wasn't my cup of tea. But at the same time, man, I mean, Snoop did that. You can't take that away from him. Not everyone can do it. Whether it's the right or the wrong reasons, I believe all gangs are frivolous at this point, But at the same time, man, like I tell people that are active, I got a lot of active friends that are still in the mix, and I tell them, man, and they tell me, they voice their concern saying, man, these guys are getting thick. A lot of our homeboys that we were kicking back with just last week are now riders. And I said, yeah, man, it's like an epidemic.
Hey, even with me not knowing that individual ever, never seeing him, never nothing, you can tell, as an outsider, just looking at his following, he's been the head of this group for what now? When did they start? My first encounter with any of them was back in 2006, and they were already deep in Tracy when I was in the hole. So you can see, this individual has had the personality or whatever traits he might have, to get such a following that it's real. The dude's here to stay. Their group is kind of here to stay. You know what I mean? They have cemented themselves as a force. There's no doubt about it. Whether anybody likes it or not, that's facts. You know what I mean? I've never met the individual, so I have no say about him or anything like that. But just being on the outside looking in and having the experience I have, he's done his thing, straight up. I mean, that's all you could say. Whether you like it or not, it's facts,
That's an interesting point you just made, because I just thought about calculating numbers in my head about when the first Norteños came out. He started this movement. The Norteño movement was only out for about 20 years, 22 years, possibly.
Yeah.
It's been in existence almost 20 years now, this Northern Rider movement, which I find very interesting, man. And, I want to take this at this time, since we just started this Convicts Collective podcast thing, right? I know Snoopy tapping in. I know he'll be watching our stuff, man. Here's an open invitation, Snoop, for you to come on the show, man. And we want to hear what you have to say, man. We're going to extend that invitation, man, for you to come on here, man. And, what I'm saying? With Broho, myself, and Gunner, man, and tell your spill.
Yeah, before he had went out to court, man, he had actually got at me on Instagram and said he was going to put something together. You know what I mean? As far as, we go for us. And so hopefully, man, he'll be able to get reestablished, go back to wherever he's going and knock that out. If not, hey, it's all good either way, but that would be cool to hear him tell his thing straight up. He's, no matter how much people don't like to admit it, he is part of the history of this thing. You know what I mean? Whether, you're not going to look at him as part of the Northern thing. Obviously, people are going to be, he's not that. But this genre, this prison, you guys understand what I'm saying. He is part of it. You can't take his name out of it, because he has a huge impact on the whole prison system, period.
One thing I will say about Maurice is that personally, I will say this: he is the definition of looks can be deceiving. Under the word looks can be deceiving is Snoop's face. What you see is not always what really is. You see this individual, he looks like you would see walking down the street, he'd look like a regular old guy. You wouldn't even turn your head. But like I say, looks can be deceiving. This guy's a mastermind and was able to manipulate the masses, man. And he's done that. So for that, I commend him on being a shrewd individual. Do I endorse his movement? Absolutely not. I just want to put that out there right now, that I do not endorse, promote, or condone his movement. But at the same time, you can't take what he's established or what he's done from the man. So with that being said, that's how I feel.
I agree. 100%.
I agree.
All right, man. I guess that'll pretty much wrap it up, man. We just wanted to bring you that breaking news. We just got it, an hour or so ago. We wanted to drop it to you guys. Whether you love him or hate him, I mean, like I said, he is a very influential person in how in prison politics, period. You know what I mean? He's affected everything on everywhere. There's no doubt about it. And man, great first podcast, man. We're gonna expand this. We're gonna get on an actual podcast platform real soon, and we're gonna be doing this every once in a while, man. So stay tuned. Appreciate you, Gunner. Appreciate Flacco, and we'll be dropping this immediately. Have a good day, everybody.
Bang, bang.